Hey there, it's Bronze and Modern Gods. I'm John.
I'm Richard.
Welcome, everybody. Hey, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to subscribe, that would be awesome and help us reach more people. Share this video with someone that you love. Or if you hate us and you want to punish someone you hate, share it with them, right?
The postman. Share it with the postman.
Share it with some postman, yes, in lieu of a tip this Christmas. Hey, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods as well. This is a special pre-recorded episode because right now, as this is premiering, I am in London, jolly old England, Richard, the UK, hun.
I am excited for you. That sounds like a great time.
Yeah, I will be going to a few shops while I'm there, especially places like Forbidden Planet. I'll have a little report next time we get together, but that's why you're seeing this thumbnail early, and that's why our hot book of the week this week is something that is older. Richard, go ahead. You picked it.
Yeah, I picked it this week. Spawn #1.
What?
Yeah, I look at a lot of different lists when I look at hot books, and this book is #1 in Go Collect's trending list.
Why?
And it has been a popular book for a while now. This is not a new thing. If anybody doesn't know, Spawn #1 is the first comic book Spawn. There is it is.
We call that a first appearance, Richard.
Well, it's first appearance, but he had his first appearance in Malibu.
Oh, Malibu Sun.
Yeah. So I didn't want to call it first appearance,
Gotcha.
but this is Image Comics. This is his first issue for Image Comics. It printed. This is back when Image was the rave. It was the bomb. It was the culmination of years and years of work from all these independent artists. Spawn #1 sold over 1 million copies for that first issue. And it is not a rare book. I remember for a long time where you could get copies of this thing for $5 easily, night and day. It was not
$1.
Yeah, it was. I know people. I've seen stacks of them that people were selling. It's amazing how unrare this book is. But even with all that said, 9.8s are still around $200. It's $200 for, let's say, a $1 book is an amazing opportunity for people who buy this book cheap and then resell it with at a higher value. But it's not only this book. Another high volume book, X-Men #1, that sold 8 million copies.
What's happening?
This is Jim Lee's X-Men #1. It also is a trending book, and it also is selling for around $200 for a 9.8. And that I just find it fascinating, and I just kind of wanted to hear John's take on it, why he thinks that these books are holding value like this.
Spawn #1, always sold. Period. It always sold. If you put the right price on it, you would sell it for some reason. I think it's a cool cover. I think people like Todd. I think they just respond when they see the cover. X-Men #1, not so much. Some of those, of the 5 different covers, there are some of them that just sit in, dollar bins forever. That gatefold cover always sold. The Magneto cover always sold. But, sometimes you can't move that Rogue Beast cover or whatever. I think what's happening is, the 30-year rule, maybe. People that, when they were kids, they liked Spawn and X-Men #1. They were excited. They sold their collection since, and they're, got a little money now, and they're getting back into it. New generations of people. Kate Bush has the #1 5 song in the country right now, Richard.
What?
Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush from 1985 is #5 this week. And it's not people our age that were there the first time that put it there. So there is something to be said about the stuff from the 80s and the 90s being better than what is being put out there today. I know it's such an old man thing to say, but it's true.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of dilution in media today that didn't happen back in the 80s. People are more sensitive. People are more aren't open to some of the things that they were open to in the 80s in terms of being adventurous in storylines. And so I think 80s has, has that to its advantage, as so do early 90s, in my opinion. So maybe there is something about that for these books. But I'm with you. Spawn number one, I think, is always going to have an intrinsic value because it's the Todd father. He has really set himself up as a force in comics. And if they ever make a movie, if they ever make another Spawn movie, this book is going to explode. And that's
what's happening. He's hinting about it. He's been tweeting hints about the movie finally happening. So
he's been talking about this movie for 5 years at least.
No. So. All right, I have another thing, and this admittedly is a stretch. So let me preface it by saying this is a stretch. I realize that. Mm-hmm. But the massive amount of this book in X-Men number 1 that have been bopping around for 30 years now in bargain bins and quarter boxes, that million print run, how many of those are still 9.8 candidates at this point? Because they've been passed around and shifted from box to box and inventory to inventory, and I've sold my collection. So that it's a stretch, I know, but it may have a little something to do with it.
Well, there are, according to the CGC census, 11,840 9.8s for Spawn number 1. Out of 23,000 books graded total. So
why isn't Spawn number 2 more expensive?
That's a very good question. I think a lot of those early Spawns are just dollar books,
They are. Remember that collection I bought online 2 years ago, like at the beginning of the pandemic? I won an auction for a collection that was about 4 long boxes, and in those 4 long boxes were 47 copies of Spawn number 8. There were 32 copies of Spawn number 7. Do you think there were any 9s? First Angela? No,
of course not.
Why couldn't there have been 40 copies of that in there? But the print runs on Spawn were astronomical. Same thing with, Bloodstrike, Youngblood, Wildcats, Tribe, everyone's favorite, Tribe. I helped that print run when I had my shop.
Well, there's news about Youngblood and Wildcats. Not Wildcats. Yeah. Wildstorm at this point. So
I don't know. I think Spawn, another reason could be Spawn is still being published today. It's on issue 300 and some. And so that is an impressive achievement. However, Savage Dragon's still being published today, and it's not going for $200 for issue 1. So there goes that argument. I'm a big Eric Larson fan, so I'm going to boost Eric. So I don't know. You guys tell us in the comments, why the hell are you paying $200 for a Spawn number 1? There are 11,000 9.8s out there.
And there's a newsstand of this. If you see a newsstand, grab it, because the newsstand goes for $400 to $500 for a 9.8, and it's definitely worth more than the direct.
That one legit, I think, has some value to it. The newsstand version, besides having UPC, did not come with the poster in the middle. It is not on the super glossy cover stock that the direct version is. So that one, was frowned upon at the time. You didn't want that version. You wanted the direct version with all the bells and whistles. So as a result, the newsstand one is harder to find, especially in grade. We will have more nostalgia in the 25-year rule later, underrated books of the week. But right now, it is time for viewer mail.
You've got mail.
Richard, start us off, please.
All right. My first piece of viewer mail is from Night Tiger Comics. Why are channels always citing highest grade sales instead of average grade sales first? Because these sales are more relatable to your average buyer. I think what your question is along the lines of why are we always quoting 9.8s as opposed to maybe a more reasonable grade in some books, like let's say a 6.0 or a 7, which are more average grades for books. Well, the reason why I do it personally is most people track 9.8s, including myself, because of the trickle down factor. So if you price a book at a 9.8, or if you find a 9.8 value, you can get an idea of what the grades, what the values of the lower grades are going to fall in line to. It's not always true. Some books are really, really hard to get in 9/8, and because of that, there is a skew towards those higher grades. But for the most part, if I know what a 9/8 is and somebody offers me a 7.0, I can kind of do the math to figure out what the value of that 7.0 is. And like I said, most people, when they are looking at books, are using that 9/8 as a yardstick.
Yeah, and if you notice one thing that I think both Richard and I try to do when we give examples for modern books, we do use 9.8 because that's the biggest mover. It's the biggest seller. It's the largest percentage of books that are slabbed or 9.8s for modern books. When we get into silver and some bronze, you always hear me say the most recent sale for X grade, 6.0 is this, because I'm not going to give you a 9.8 report on a Fantastic Four #1. It's so skewed, it's ridiculous. So we do try for older books. We do cite the most recent sale as opposed to saying 9.8. But Night Tiger, you say average grade sales. What's an average grade to you? Average grade to you is different than my average grade. My average grade in my books is a 9.2 probably, and I won't accept any less. You may, and that's not a flex, I'm just telling you, you may consider 7.0 an average grade. Mileage varies. If you look at the volume sold, then 9.8, 9.0 and higher is going to be the average grade for slabs. Not a lot of people are racing to slab modern books that are going to grade out at 7.0.
No,
So,
you're right. You have a good point about Silver Age books. Trying to quote a 9.8 price to give you a feel for the rest of the grades is difficult because some books, 9.8 is $45,000,
or doesn't exist.
Or doesn't
Some books,
exist.
a 9.4 is as good as you're going to get. Interesting question, Night Tiger. Hopefully that answers some of our philosophy there. My first piece of viewer mail is from Wildcat 1970, talking about the awesome 1970s Power Records book and records. Wildcat writes, the Power Record of Captain America taught me that the proper pronunciation is the Death Ray. Yes, that's exactly how Helmut Zemo speaks in the Power Records version. It's just this most overwrought Germanic accent. Captain America. Oh, that's French.
No,
I was
those
thinking
Power
about,
Records are great. Those Golden Record reprints are awesome.
oh, the Power Records one though. I was thinking about that this week because I am a nerd. I remember I had most of them, and the one that freaked me out the most, I was probably 7 or 8 years old at this point, was the Man Thing Power Records book and record. It reprinted Man Thing #5, and I remember it to this day. Man Thing #5 is a story about a circus clown who gets cheated on by his girlfriend in the circus and gets humiliated by the strong man, classic Freaks type plot line, goes to the swamp, pulls out a revolver and shoots himself in the head while the Man Thing watches. And then rises from the dead as a ghost at the end of the issue. And in the comics, it was continued in issue 6. The Power Record just ends right there. So, hey, kids, it's comics.
Wow. Good night, kids.
And, it's drawn by Mike Plug, so it's super spooky looking. And, you have all the classic elements for children's literature. A suicidal clown, infidelity. Boy, kids these days are treated with kid gloves.
Again, back then you had storylines that people wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole nowadays.
We learned about life hard and early. What's your next piece of your mail?
Oh my goodness. My next piece is from Peanuts 409.
Beady Peanuts.
Regarding the #1s, we're talking about issue #1s in Marvel and DC's love of resetting their series. When I was new to Young Avengers, I screwed myself by buying a Young Avengers #1 blank cover, thinking it was a steal. But after reviewing, I realized I got duped hardcore. Yeah, I have done this, and this is a symptom of the problem where Everyone knows what the cover A is for us, particularly like Young Avengers #1. We know what the cover A is, but they make so many different variant covers that if you're not aware of the specific variant cover that goes with the same year that the rare book that you're looking for, there's a number of Young Avengers series. You could end up buying a book by accident, and I have done this, thinking that you are buying a variant cover for Series A, when in reality you're buying a variant cover for Series B. And yeah, that's to me is also one of the risks you take with them resetting the series as often as they do.
Blank covers. Do you think 30 years from now they're going to carry a premium if they're still blank and clean?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I have seen some blank covers that have been turned into pieces of art, and to have that opportunity to have an artist to do a full cover sketch would be amazing. If you can keep a white cover, blank cover, because they're not all white. I'm thinking of some Harley Quinn covers that are pink, for example.
Yeah.
If you keep a blank cover white, the whole thing white and clean for 30 years, I think you're going to get a premium for the effort of doing that.
We used to think Whitmans were worthless,
Yeah.
and I see these blank covers of many comic shops, many local comic shops. There's a big box where it's like blank covers, $5 each, because they can't move them. And so I just wonder what's going to happen 30 years from now with all these blank covers popping around.
Again, make sure you got the right blank cover for the right series.
Exactly. My next piece of your mail is from Mystery Mac 38. I'm glad that Mystery Mac left this comment because I am not willing to let this die, even though it seems to have died down a bit. The CGC label gate about removing notes from the label. Mystery Mac writes, I sent 2 submissions in March, one to CGC for 7 books and one to CBCS, 3 books to test the waters. CBCS had my books returned to me 4 weeks before CGC. I like CBCS service the best. They charge less. They have a QR code. You can scan and get the rater's notes, and the cases are stronger. I don't care about the label. Yes, it's a plain label, but I tend to look at the books more than the label. Well, smell you, Mystery Mac. No, I see what you're saying. I agree. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I'm not doing anything right now. I am slabless when it comes to submitting stuff with a caveat that I will discuss in the next piece of your mail after Richard's. But I will say turnaround times for CGC have improved. I'm going to give them that because I've gotten some modern submissions back in 3 weeks. Mm-hmm. And conversely, I have 2 express submissions that I'm still waiting for. The moderns that I sent in the same box got turned around and shipped to me in 3 weeks. They're sitting here right now in a box. I'm still waiting for the express books. So there's that.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, the turnaround time has definitely improved. At least the last shipment I sent. I'm not really sending them any more in, with the exceptions of I need some reslabs. Excuse me. I need some reholders for some books where I've got cracked cases.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send those in because I just need to. But no, the label to me is really for when you're in a situation where you need to know about the book, like you're buying a book from someone, and in an environment where you don't necessarily have access to the grader's notes, and the labels there give you additional information to help you make an informed transaction. So I will miss that, especially since we have books that for all the way up to 2022 that have grader's notes with information on them. And then all of a sudden, those same books will come back with less notes. There's no indication that these books are after this period and have the lesser notes. So, you've got this weird mix now of books that have more detailed notes and books that have less detailed notes, and there's no way of differentiating them. So when you see a book with less information on it, does it mean it has less issues, or does it mean it was after this change? And I think it's just going to be a mess for CGC.
Just goes back to the original argument and the original question I had. Who is this for? Yeah. Who is this new policy for? No one seems to be able to answer that question, except to benefit certain retailers, high-end retailers or auction houses, or to take some of the workload off of the graders. And that is not something you're doing for the prominent members of the comic community. That's something you're doing for yourselves, CGC. So,
Right.
all right, before we go down this road too far, go ahead and move on to your next piece of your mail, please.
My next piece is from CJ, and it's again we're talking about number ones. I think the reboots perhaps devalue character, possibly, particularly those who aren't Spider-Man, FF, X-Men sort of title. How many how many Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvels do we have? Does anyone care? And that's a good point. There are a number of Captain Marvel series. There's a number of Ms. Marvel series, and it's difficult to tell unless you know what you're doing. What particular number one goes with what particular series? Again, because you marry this with Marvel's habit of variant covers and store variant covers and retail incentive covers, and just the plethora of covers that they put out with some issues, 75, 80 covers with certain notable issues. It can be very difficult to know, is this Venom number 3 the right Venom number 3, or is it Venom number 3 from a different series? That kind of problem.
Yeah. Gosh, what volume is Captain Marvel on now?
I don't know.
It's got to be at least volume 7 or 8, at least.
It does. Between all the different Captain Marvels they've had, male and female, it's got to be at least that high.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. Back to CGC. Mark Oldroyd writes, CGC clearly have no regard for their customers. Their huge backlog is making them blasé to customer service. I have seen so many YouTube videos complaining about CGC, and they keep using them. So CGC will never change. John, respect. You are the first major YouTuber to say enough is enough. Well, Mark, thank you. I don't know if I'm a major YouTuber. I will challenge you on that statement. I am a lower to middle class YouTuber. Let's put it that way. But I want to be clear. When I say I'm not sending any books, I'm lying. Okay? Now, what do I mean by that? I'm done sending big, large amounts of books, moderns, stuff that I'm going to sell and flip. I am still going to send some of my PC stuff to get slabbed. That's stuff that I'm never going to sell. It's for me. I want to protect it. Maybe I should do CBCS. I don't know. Come at me, guys, in the comments. Tell me. My Avengers 4 is in a CBCS case, and it's not horrible. But yeah, I want to state that before I get a book back from CGC for my PC and I show it off, and everybody goes,
I'm the same way. I have certain PC books that if I acquire, I will be sending them to grade. And to be perfectly honest, I am vain, and I like the custom labels that CGC offers. They have the license with Marvel to offer Miles Morales labels, Doctor Doom labels, Fantastic Four labels. That's my wheelhouse. So I like my books to have those custom labels. So I will tend to use them. Now those are for my PC books. I like John. I have enough books that I don't need to slab more flip books or sale books. I've got excuse me. And if I get a book in that I'm looking to sell, that's a tough one. That is a tough one. Do you send it into CGC and get 20% more than what you would get if you sent it to CBCS?
No. And I'll give you a real world example. I went to Mexico City. I found a comic shop that had a ton of keys, super cheap. Great example, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur #1. I got it. I pressed it. It was a 9.8. I sent it in. I got it slabbed. It's a 9.8. Future John will not send it in and get it slabbed. I'll just press it. I will grade it a 9.6, 9.8, put it up raw, and price it accordingly. I will not price it at a CGC 9.8 cost, but you're saving the time and the effort and the heartache and the headache and the postage and everything else, and then having it come back with finger bends, quote unquote, that were not there when I pressed the book and sent it in myself.
But what happens if you get, let's say, an ASM 300 on newsstand, and you think it's a 9/8 possible. You know, it's got the look of a 9/8. You don't see any obvious flaws. It's got crisp edges, corners, the whole 9 yards. At a 9/8, that is a $7,000, $8,000 book. At ungraded, it is considerably less. Would you take the chance to get that book graded to get that bigger return, or would you sell it raw?
How much did I pay for it?
You paid $450 for it.
I'd sell it raw. The return is there. You know, I mean, I'm not Elon Musk. I don't need all the money in the world.
So
My
what would you sell it
mental
for?
health.
You know, let's say I'd sell it for 1,000, or I mean, where would you?
No, I wouldn't sell it for 1,000. I would look at the GPA, and I would reduce the cost from the amount it would take to slab it, the amount it would take for postage, and then maybe knock another 10% off and start from there and see what the reaction was. You know, if it's sat, there's my answer. You know, times change, things change. My edict may change, but right now I'm not sending anything in. I'm just not. And not only that, you also have to look at the market right now. The market, whether you guys want to admit it or not, the market's falling. We're getting ready to head into a recession here if we're not there already. Today, when we recorded this, the prime interest rate went up 0.75%. Do you want to tie up your inventory for an extra month and a half?
No.
When you can sell it now and have that money in your pocket? That's the question.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, now's the time to be buying.
Yeah, we're in a dip.
Yeah, buy the dip.
Speaking of saving money, you have an interesting one next.
Yeah, I thought this was interesting. This is from Rich B. What a great name.
Hey, Richie Rich.
Hey guys, Fan Expo is coming to Dallas. I've never been to a convention and thought it would be cool to go.
Wait. I've never been to a convention. Let's stop right there. Okay, go on. I wanted to highlight that.
Yeah. Looking at the cost of entry, I don't understand the value. I can't figure out if there are deals other than the swag you get with a ticket. Would you be able to give a brief summary of the benefits of attending a convention and paying $60 to get in, or $150 for a weekend pass? Yeah. This is a great question.
Start a podcast and you never have to pay.
I would start with a smaller convention. Most of the smaller conventions have either a free or they have $5 or $10 entry fee, and part of that money goes to pay for the facilities and for the people who run the convention and the security and all the other crap that you have to do when you actually run an event. So, you're paying, part of that money that you're paying is going to pay to support the actual convention.
Right.
So start off with one of those smaller conventions. You'll have a great time. You won't feel guilty about shelling out the money. It's a good way to get that first feet in the door to see if you like convention. Now, if you're talking about a Fan Expo show, because they have a Fan Expo here in Cleveland, it was $65 to get in. It was I kind of did a double take because it wasn't that expensive last year because I went to the Fan Expo here in Cleveland. It was packed. It was very busy, very crowded. There are a lot of vendors selling random things from lightsabers to anime figures and there are a number of comic book dealers there selling comic books. But they also had a lot of artists. It's an opportunity. When you have that higher entry fee, it's an opportunity for the conventions to attract a lot of people to attend the convention who are not necessarily vendors. So you got people like Dan Parent was there, for example, who is he draws some of my favorite art for Archie Comics. You also had people like William Shatner was there. So there's a lot of, you get those kinds of perks. Now, I always notice that when you go to the conventions, the cost of the books on the wall, then when you're buying from a dealer, seem to kind of go up with the price of the convention, and it has to do mainly because these vendors are paying for the space when they are there, and they're trying to recoup their investment in terms of making money overall once they subtract that initial cost that they have to put out. But it's still a great opportunity, I think, to have a wide selection of things. If you're a fan of more than comics, it's definitely worth it. I go every year. I only go to the vendor area and to the places where the artists sit and the artist row, because I find that fun. They have different panels that go on. Also, if you're interested in learning more and having a panel where a particular artist or story writer will talk about their experiences. That's also really good, and it's a part of that $65. So you got to look at it to see why you're going. If you're just going for comic books, you probably have better opportunities with the smaller vendors or conventions. But if you're going for an experience, which is what the Fan Expo is, then you have more opportunities to find things that you're interested in.
And I will tell you, I never buy a weekend pass.
No.
I don't. I end up buying just either the first day or Sunday. First day, you get in there, you see everything, you get the deals before anybody else, and then you're done. I've never, even Comic-Con, I've never been to a Comic-Con where I can spend all 3 days on the floor and be excited.
Yeah.
Even when I was younger. Sunday's a good day because dealers are starting to get a little more desperate to make some coin, and so they start slashing prices on everything. One thing I do a lot of, and you guys have seen live sales, you've seen the results of this, is I will make sure I get in and I buy a VIP or anything that has a convention exclusive, because then I take that convention exclusive and I justify the spend by selling that. I make my money back and then some for the cost of that. Like La Mole, that Spawn 185 La Mole foil paid for our flights, the hotel room, and admission for 2 people. We got a trip for Mexico for 1 book.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
So I don't think Fan Expo has exclusives, but things like MegaCon, there's that foil exclusive that just came out for Spawn and MegaCon that's selling for a lot now. So you can parlay these exclusives to kind of offset the financial ding. Yeah. So yeah, don't buy a weekend pass. You'll be bored.
Yeah, seriously. I show up when they open, and I wander around and do my stuff, like John says.
Nerd.
Yes, I am a nerd. I am a self-professed professional nerd. I earn a living being a nerd.
Excuse me, sir. You're cutting the line. The line starts here.
Yeah, but I'm done in the afternoon. 4 hours probably is about what I spend, and I'm done. And I don't need to come back and see the same people again. I've either gotten my deals, or like John says, go in on Sunday 3 hours before they're closing. The dealers are looking. The choice is sell it to you or pack it up and take it home. And a lot of times they'll be more flexible with their pricing because they don't want to have to pack it up.
Exactly. My final piece of viewer mail is from Paul D77. Great show as always, guys. Thank you. Thanks, Richard, for sharing a foreign book this week. I'd love to see some more content about the explosion of the foreign market in the last few years, especially now with CGC starting to grade them. I'm UK based. I'll see you in a week. And I have been collecting UK comics with US key covers, as it's a cheaper way of obtaining iconic books that are slightly different than their US counterparts. Indeed. I'm not even mentioning CBCS labels, by the way. Thanks again. Paul, before I hand this over to Richard, I agree. I've been on a foreign variant kick for a while now. Here is an issue of Los Hombres X, numero dice. No? Dice? Doce. 12.
Oh.
First Juggernaut from 1964. And I got this for $5.
Oh, that's
nuts. It's insane.
That's
right?
Nuts.
I'm not going to tell you where. It wasn't in this. It wasn't in this country. But I've got Filipino variants. I don't get into as much as Richard has. You've got quite a few interesting ones.
Yeah, there's tons. There are tons of foreign books that are appreciated here in the States. Especially there's the whole run of Spider-Man where Gwen Stacy didn't die. She actually was with Peter Parker, and it's an interesting storyline. But those books are worth a lot of money. There are some really valuable Italian Venom copies that are just hard to come by. Huge, there's gorgeous black covers. They've even been homaged. They recently someone homaged them. I can't remember what book it was, or it was like a store variant, I think. But no, there are a lot of foreign books that I think are finally getting appreciation. The Pence books are getting appreciation. Fantastic Four #1, for example. I would love to get that book as a Pence. I'd love to get it in any form, to be honest with you.
I'll get you one next week.
Oh, thank you. So no, yeah, I think foreign books are. I think a lot of people in the States just don't know about them, and I think it's an education thing, and the more that people buy them and then post them on Instagram or post them on eBay for sale, I think the more they're known about, I think the value of them will continue to go up.
I agree. Richard, define transition.
Transition, changing from one state to another?
That's a good definition leading into a segue to the 25-year rule. All right. You get what you get, people.
You do. Yeah. Hey, it's a free show, okay?
Yeah.
It's a free
What
show.
did you pay? What did you pay to get in here? 25-year rule this week, heading back to 1997, featuring a character near and dear to my absurdist Dada-esque heart. That is the Flaming Carrot with Flaming Carrot Comics Annual #1. This was a special annual celebrating the 15th anniversary of Bob Burden's Flaming Carrot. Now, who is the Flaming Carrot, you ask? Why, the Flaming Carrot was a comic book fan who mistakenly read too many comic books in one sitting, and his brain turned to mush. Then he wore a giant carrot, flippers, and became a superhero known as the Flaming Carrot. That makes as much sense as it sounds like it does. The comic is the same way. If you like surrealism, humor, David Lynch humor, Dada-esque humor, this is your book. This was the first new issue of the Flaming Carrot since the ongoing title ended with issue 31 back in 1994. So there was a little 3-year hiatus there. Let me tell you about this book. The story inside is called Arbor Day. And here is the description of the plot. Danielle and the Carrot find a miniature Abe Lincoln. Meanwhile, Blotto's gang tries to find the Carrot so they can kill him.
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know about you, but I want to read this book.
Flaming Carrot to me just speaks of 80s indie. That time where people were putting out black and white comics with an X, and they had very little regard for a coherent story. They were trying to get across some point that made sense to them and them alone, and hang the reader if they had no idea what was going on.
I think the story Arbor Day with the miniature Abe Lincoln makes perfect sense. A 9.8 of Flaming Carrot Annual #1 sold in March for $88. I was shocked to see that, such a recent sale. And Raws, 2 Raws have sold recently on eBay, one for $3 and one for $24. So the range is there when it comes to this book. I can't imagine there's too many of them flopping around, but I love me some Flaming Carrot, so I want to give some Flaming Carrot love for the 25-year rule this week. Moving on to our underrated books of the week, Richard.
Yeah, my underrated book this week is Nick's #4. This is the
NYX.
Nick's #4. The second appearance of X-23, who's a clone of Logan.
Is Neil Gaiman in this?
I've always called it Nick's. You can call it NYX if you want to. It's
all right. Go on.
In my universe, which is superior to yours, it is Nick's.
Indeed.
It's a clone of Logan, Wolverine. She differs from him, and she has 2 claws instead of 3 like Wolvie has.
I think there are other differences too.
There are the differences. That's the visual. That's what they always highlight.
Okay, I can think of 3 differences, but go on.
Okay. So her first appearance was in Nix 3, which is an $1,800 book in a 9.8. She's also codenamed as Wolverine, which
Nothing confusing about that
nothing
at
at all. She's a popular character. She's had a number of her own ongoing series, which I also enjoy. They're called X-23. She's part of what I call the Wolverine family. You know, they had the Marvel Comics family. You know, but now we've got Wolverine, Logan, and you've got X-23, and then you've got, with only one claw, this little girl who they call Honey Badger. So.
all. And Dawkins, son of Wolverine.
That's true. I forgot about him. Yeah.
Crypto, the Wolverine dog. Comet,
It would be
the horse,
Fang.
the adamantium skeleton.
Fortunately, they didn't go that deep into it. But yeah, I forgot all about the son. But yeah, so this is a good, like I said, it's a very popular character. She's been a part of the X-Men. She's been a part of a number of books over the years. She's been even when it was in Logan the movie. But I'm thinking, and this is a stretch here. I admit this is a stretch. First of all, I love the character. This is her second appearance. Second appearance collection is something that is a thing now. But, you know, Marvel's going to go to the X-Men here soon. What if instead of using Logan, they use X-23? What if they use a female for Wolverine? She's much more approachable than Logan. Logan is very raw, at least the way he is in the comics most of the time. It's a possibility. I don't know how great of a possibility it is. It depends on what forces could win in Marvel, because the traditionalists are going to pick Logan. But traditionalists have not always won in these battles. So, we don't know what's going to be. But anyway, I still think it's a solid pick just because it's second appearance of X-23. 90-day average is about $300 for this at a 9.8. There are 438 9.8s out there. But, this book you can buy raw on eBay for, around $50. And I think it's a good book to buy. If you see it, frankly, I buy all of this. There are 7 books in this series. I buy all of them whenever I see them. But I do that for small run, limited series books like, for example, The Punisher limited series. I always buy all of those books as well. So yeah, that's my pick this week.
All right. My pick is going back to the pre-Silver Age of Marvel and the very seeds of what would later become the Marvel Universe. And it is a book called Strange Worlds #1. This has a cover date of December 1958, which makes this the earliest collaboration between Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, and Don Heck, all in one book.
Wow.
These books would later be called the pre-hero monster books, right? This was 1 month before Tales of Suspense #1 and 1 month before Tales to Astonish #1, which are, and that along with Strange Tales, are usually considered the Lee, Kirby, Ditko pre-hero books. Strange Worlds #1 was first. The most recent sale on GPA was in May for a CGC 5.0, and that sold for $408. A steal for this book. I think this book is historically as ridiculously undervalued. While there were some one-off stories by Stan and Jack and Stan and Steve in some of the mystery titles prior to this, this book right here is the culmination of all those earlier collaborations now in one title. The weird thing is this one only lasted 5 issues and they got canceled, whereas the other mystery titles and suspense titles went on for years and years and years. So why did Strange Worlds not make it? I don't know, but completely undervalued.
Yeah, I'm surprised you could find a book for that price that's this important.
2 years before Fantastic Four #1. Mm-hmm. All right. That is going to wrap it up for us this week. Thanks, everybody. We remind you to please follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Bronze and Modern Gods. And Richard, if they like this video, what do they do?
They can contact us at Bronze and Minor Gods on Facebook and Instagram.
I just said that.
I know, but you could.
No, if they like the video,
they can thumbs up. They can like us. They can follow us. Do whatever the little social media that we happen to be on does for you.
Look, people, Richard and I are both going on vacation, so we're like trying to get this done.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. My mind is our family trip.
I'm already in London. Hey, everybody, we will catch you next time. Thanks again.
Everybody's